Hello and welcome back to Rams Talk Podcast. It's a bit of a weird day for the Rams Talk crew because we've just filmed our Christmas special, which is why we're a little bit late on the live. Sorry. But we're here today after a bit of a sucker punch against Wycombe. We were really, really strong. I'd say going into the last 10 minutes, we'd scored good position. And then all of a sudden we do a derby and we throw it away in the dying seconds. But all's not lost. We'll be all right. Joining me today, I've got Callum Boocock. How are you, pal?
I'm good, mate. I am sweltering at the
moment. Myself and, all of us all have our Christmas attire on from the Christmas special. So if you are watching and very confused why we're dressed like idiots, that is why. We've also got Chris Matthews-Redwood. How are you, pal?
I'm good, mate. I know I look stupid, but I feel surprisingly comfy. I think I might wear this more often.
I like it. And last but certainly not least, Vic Singh. How are you, pal?
All good, mate. All good. Hope you're all well.
Very, very good. Very, very good. So we've got a couple of comments already. I'll get to those when I get Callum talking, because one of the things I wanted to talk about was our yellow cards in the first half. It's where we have to start, isn't it? Now, it's weird because I don't think the ref had a fantastic game yesterday, but I thought all 5 yellow cards were completely justified. I think Conor Hourihane got away with it a little bit. I think he possibly should have been sent off. Why did we pick up so many yellows so early on, Callum?
I don't know. I mean, it's not something that we're used to seeing. We're quite disciplined normally, under Paul Warne especially. He's always talking about game management and not to do silly things early on. The only player who's really been a culprit for that's been maybe Lewis Sibley, just because of his tackling and stuff. But yeah, I mean, I looked at it after I messaged all you guys and just went, why have we got 5 yellows in the first half? And it's scattered across the team. It just puts you straight under pressure because it just means that you cannot make a mistake. It probably forces a hand on Paul Warne to make changes, or at least put it in his mind to make changes that maybe he didn't want to make in the first place. So it just kind of threw the whole thing off. And the way Wycombe were playing the game, it didn't benefit us at all.
Well, we'll get onto that. We'll definitely get onto that. But Chris, I mean, in the first half, all 3 central midfielders were booked. Now, when you're playing against a team like Wycombe, you know, they're a strong team. They've got some big lads. They were built like a rugby team, pretty much. They've got big lads, and you can't touch them. It puts you in all sorts of trouble, doesn't it?
It does. And I think, look, the first 20, 25 minutes, we played right into Wycombe's hands. That's exactly what they wanted. And unfortunately, we just fell for it. I think, Callum said it's unusual for us to be that, I wouldn't say aggressive, but petulant. And I say you have to say to Wycombe, they executed their game plan perfectly. And as a team and management, we fell straight into their trap. And Wycombe got exactly what they wanted out of it, which was an ugly point.
Yeah, I completely agree. And I'm going to be honest, I'm finding it difficult to talk serious football after the last hour we've just had.
It's very true.
You'll all hear that. You'll all hear that in a couple of days. It was very fun. It was very fun. And Vic, I mean, we don't want to talk about the ref too much, so we'll pretty much get it out of the way straight away. I thought the biggest problem was the referee let a lot of Wycombe stuff go. I remember a challenge on James Collins where someone came straight through the back of him. They'd gone to ground. Ref gave advantage and for some unknown reason didn't go back and book the player. And then when they were celebrating getting Max Bird booked, that was annoying. And then Lyle Taylor, you know, the referee tells him to go off at the closest exit of the pitch, and he just goes no and just walks off all the way to the other side with the referee closely behind. They lost control of the game, didn't they? They completely lost control of the game and made it really difficult. And it's not an excuse, but it did make it difficult with the stop-start nature of the game for Derby to really build.
Yeah, I completely agree. Lost control of it. It's just, I think for all the Derby fans who are inside the stadium, it was just about the consistency of the refereeing performance. I think had she been brandishing the yellow cards out to them in similar fashion, then we probably would have said that overall she had a good refereeing display. Like, we can't dispute any of the Derby decisions that she made. I thought pretty much all of them were spot on. But for me, the consistency wasn't there, and it's a bit worrying considering that she's moving up to the Premier League next week, I believe. And if that's the sort of standard that we're promoting, and she's had such a... If she's losing control in a League One game, could you imagine what's going to happen in a Premier League game? So, yeah, I mean, again, we weren't allowed to play our game. Like Chris said, Wickham executed that game plan to a T, got into our faces, ruffled our feathers, and we just didn't really... We weren't at the races yesterday, and I think you could tell from throughout the 90 of it.
Well, exactly. And one of the notes that I've got written here is how we didn't really play safe in the first half, but we just couldn't find any way to break through Wickham's back line. And now they've actually been quite strong at the back, which is weird when they'd lost 4 in a row. But the defensive record isn't too bad. It's going forward where they've always struggled. And that was shown by the fact they had 1 shot on target all game, and that was a penalty. So one of the things that confused me a lot was a lot of our attacking players seem to be overthinking and overplaying a little bit, Callum. I mean, Kane Wilson possibly had his worst game in a Derby shirt. I think everything he tried to do just wasn't coming off. He couldn't get around any of the defenders. They had him all game. Is it a little bit of a worry that Wickham, for the second season running, have come against Derby, who are on a good run, and found a way to get something out of them?
Yeah, you can't put it other than that. That it is a little bit concerning. I think it was just a case of you put it really well there. Overthinking, too many touches that weren't needed. You just needed simpler play, which is fully coming from a Paul Warne team that were asking for simpler play against a team that was really direct and just did what they needed to do away from home. At the end of the day, they're scrapping near the lower half of mid-table. They're just trying to get every point they can. Coming to a team like ourselves who are on a winning streak, all they needed to do was just make it ugly, and they did exactly that. And it's probably naive of us to just fall into the trap, because as soon as I think it was probably about the 15th minute, as soon as you did and watched it, you knew exactly what the rest of the game was going to be, because we just went into their game. And as soon as the team does that, you are knackered.
Yeah, that's exactly it. And that's when you need your experienced players, isn't it? You need the likes of Curtis Nelson, James Collins to step up, because they are that experienced. Players like Sibley, Bird, Cashin, they're still learning. They're still learning that side of the game. And Conor Hourihane especially. I mean, I still can't believe, Chris, that he went in for that tackle. It was an awful touch. And the tackle was even worse. It was stood straight into the shin. VAR, he's gone. 100% he's gone. I thought, watching it live, I thought he was going to get sent off. I think the ref changed her mind, because she definitely went for the back pocket and then changed to the front pocket. So, Chris, how concerning is it for you? Obviously, we don't want to be doom and gloom, because it's not all bad with 6 unbeaten. We've won 5 of those, so we're okay. But
it can't be doom and gloom, Jake. Just looking at you and Callum, there's no way we're doom and gloom.
So, for any audio-only listeners, me and Callum both have Santa hats on, and we've all got Christmas jumpers on. So, it's hard to be doom and gloom looking like this. But does it worry you a little bit that experienced players are the ones getting wound up and committing these fouls?
Slightly. I think yesterday was sort of an outlier when it comes to games that we've had recently and will have. It was just one of those days where you can see they were getting frustrated. And I think definitely Conor Hourihane, if that had been in the second half, just part of me thinks it would have been a red. I think because it was quite early on, that's what sort of changed her mind. Because I think if she had sent him off, I dread to think how many red cards there would have been yesterday. So yeah, it is a bit worrying that no one seemed to take the game by the scruff of the neck and just turn around to everyone and say, "Calm down. We're a better footballing side than this. Let's just play football." But look, I think if that performance had been a month ago, there'd have been a lot more cause for concern. But because of the run we've been on, and going into the Christmas period, where we've got a lot of games coming up, there are going to be teams slipping up, and we still got a point out of it, and we're still unbeaten. Whereas you look at teams around us yesterday who lost. So I don't think, as you said, it's not all doom and gloom. I think the players will pick themselves up really, really quickly. And I'm just glad that Rebecca Walsh is now a Premier League ref, because we won't have her again.
Yeah, we've had plenty of dodgy refs that aren't in the Premier League, though, unfortunately.
Yep.
And I'm sure we'll see more of them, which is going to be fun. But Vic, one of the things I picked up on when watching was there was a moment where Sibley was on a yellow and he closed the man down close to the touchline of the East Stand. And he was nowhere near the guy, nowhere near. I was right next to it and he was nowhere near him. He stopped in front of him and the guy went down like he'd been shot. Holding his shin, trying to get Sibley sent off and trying to con the lino. Now, I don't know what the lino was doing because it was right in front of them. Could have told the ref and gone, look, he's dived. And that sort of happened all game. But what I did like was the lad was giving it the big one to Sibley, giving it the big one. And James Collins came over and backed his teammate. Now, we've seen Derby teams in the past where we've sort of rolled over in those sorts of situations. But Collins, I know I've criticised him a lot on here, but he backed Louis Sibley when it really mattered. You know, he's only a young lad. So for someone like Collins to go over, I know he got booked for it. To be honest, I don't blame him for doing what he did. He let the guy know exactly what he needed to hear because his ego was clearly massive. And, you know, you can't fault him at all, can you? It was really nice to see.
And I think that's what you expect of your senior players. I think if the younger lads are obviously being bullied in games and such, you look to your senior players to sort of have your back, like your captaincy roles or the ones that are leaders on the pitch. And it was nice to see Collins have Sibley back because we know Sibley has a bit of a temper and Wickham would have played on that to try and get him sent off because they know it's an easy target. So it was nice to see Collins back him and put that guy in his place a little bit. But like I said, Wickham came with that game plan of probably trying to get somebody sent off, nick a goal, and then maybe walk off with 3 points. Like I said, it's not all doom and gloom because obviously we got a point out of it. I think it was just the manner of the penalty coming in at the 98th minute, and it was just a lapse of concentration at the back that sort of given Wickham that opportunity. But yeah, it's nice to see the team togetherness, like Paul Warren's been on about the team bonding and the togetherness, and it's really going to pull us through. And if we want to get promoted, that's what we need, is team togetherness, grit and resilience. So hopefully we can keep building on that going forward in the season. Hopefully the seniors can lend their knowledge over to the youngers in the team as well.
Well, that's exactly it. And before we get onto the depression of the 98th minute, we can talk about Derby's goal because, let's be honest, very little happened before that. Really not a lot happened. But the change that made a difference, or the changes that made a difference, Jim Johnson said in a comment, we laboured all game, only seemed to wake up when Tom Barkhazen and John Jules came on. And those two both played a massive role in the goal. John Jules picking the ball up in the middle, his composure to wait for the option to come up, plays it out to Mendez-Lang. Mendez-Lang skips past his man, puts a shot in, keeper parries it, and who's there? Tom Barkhazen to put it in the back of the net. Now, Callum, we've talked a lot about John Jules on this podcast recently. He always seems to make an impact when he comes in. Is he someone that we need to play him more, don't we? Because every time he comes on, he makes a difference. And he played a massive part in changing the game yesterday.
Yeah, I mean, it was a player that I was watching the game and just seeing it unfold, and I was like, we're waiting too long to put him on because he won't have enough time to make an impact. But it's just, I think everyone is petrified in that coaching team of putting him on and the inevitable happening and him getting injured or pulling up or doing something. And I think his ability speaks no end. We know what he can do. He's shown it in the small appearances he's had just before we head into Christmas. It's just that worry that something's going to happen with him physically. And let's hope that doesn't happen and we secure his services for the rest of the season. That's, I think, a priority for me. Let's make sure that we extend the loan and move forward with him and just see what he can do back into the season, because I think it'll be massive.
Well, that's exactly it. That is exactly it. And Chris, one of the interesting things for me was after half time, we changed. We didn't make any subs, bar Sibley coming off a corner, but they played the same position anyway. We didn't make any defensive subs, but we actually went to the back three, which I thought was quite interesting, with Forsyth tucking in, Wilson at left wing back, Ward at right wing back. And I thought it made us look very open, but it did create gaps and opportunities for the likes of John Jules.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, if you're going to play 3 at the back, then Wickham at home, who were just sitting 10 men behind the ball, is the game to do it, isn't it? I mean, they were no attacking threat whatsoever. Their whole game plan was to come and sit for a point. So yeah, in those games, I've got nothing against three. I've got nothing against three at the back. We all know Paul Warne loves it, and I think if he had his way and he had the players to do it, which ironically is what he signed them all for, we would be playing three at the back a lot more often. But say I'm not averse to it, and I think against Wickham yesterday it was more than fair enough, and it was 30 seconds away from being a tactical masterstroke, wasn't it? So yeah, I've got no issues with that.
Yeah, well, it's interesting, Vic, because there's a guy called Beard Golf, so it's good that I'm coming to you with this one with the beard reference. And he said it was a tough watch, and he's unconvinced by the way we play. If we're slightly off the pace, we're easy to play against. Now, with what Chris has just said and thinking about yesterday, would you agree with that?
No, it's a good point. I mean, I was thinking more along the lines of if we're reverting to a back three, maybe that's our plan B. So obviously we're going to start the way we've been starting the last 6 games, which has worked for us. But reverting back to a back three would be like our plan, because we've seen, I think in the last few games, Sonny Bradley's starting to come on a lot more earlier. So that's probably the only way to shoehorn him into the side. Like I said, with games like Wickham, when you know there's no attacking threat, there's no harm in playing that back three, because like you said, it opens up a bit of space for our front two. It gives Collins a bit of support as well, because we all know as much as he tries, he's not very quick, and I think teams, especially well, yeah. and I think teams read that and they always nullify him, and it's almost like he's not playing. So like if you stick a second player on top and go to a back three, it sort of helps us create chances. But the thing is, it's one of those games. You're going to play a lot more teams like Wickham in this league. And it's always about finding a way to beat him. Hopefully, with John Jules getting fit back and ready, and a lot of the other squad, we can maybe use our pace. Because that's one thing we've lacked all season, is that pace and that tenacity to sort of just drive forward. But he's made a fair point there. Whoever the bearded, yeah, made a really good point there.
He did. Yeah, I think it's interesting, isn't it, that we're at a point now where he's got the team pretty much that he wants. He's got the majority of the players fit that he wants, and he keeps changing the formation. We've gone from a 4 to a 3 pretty much every game for the last 6-7 games, which is an interesting tactical tweak. It makes you think, is that really something that we're aiming to do? Is it slowly going to creep further and further forwards, and Sonny Bradley's going to be coming on in the 20th minute in a few weeks or something along those lines? But he clearly wants to play it, and at times it can work. I mean, we saw with the goal. We did see with the goal. And we've got Dennis Vesey, who said, "Merry Christmas podcast team." Merry Christmas, Dennis. So yeah, I mean, just looking at some of the other comments as well, we've got David Clarkson, who's talked about the penalty, and we should probably get onto it, Callum, as that was the defining moment of the game, really. He said that Ward's a penalty waiting to happen, just like he did for Peterborough in the playoff semi-final last year. Now, I've watched it back a few times. I've got some mates that are delusional and keep telling me it wasn't a pen. It was a pen. He tripped him over from behind. It was a silly decision. You'd expect a senior player to make a better decision than that. But one thing I noticed was when the ball came in, and I'm not trying to throw blame at him, but Sonny Bradley dropped a second before everyone else, and actually he was the one who played Vokes onside. So obviously I'm not going to blame him for that, but I thought it was interesting all the same. Is it weird seeing that, Ward, he's not a right back, is he? He's spent his whole career as a wing back or a winger. Did he sort of show a little bit of naivety there?
A little bit. It just gave me flashbacks to a certain away game last season, last minute pen. And do you know what I mean? And we all know what that one was. That caused a morbid depression back then. Luckily, it hasn't resulted in a defeat, and it means that we can just move on and put it behind us. But it is a little bit concerning that we had everything under control to a point. But for me, whenever we go back to this back three, I just feel everyone just goes on edge. It feels like they just don't quite understand fully what they're all doing and where they need to be, because they had 3 overloading the back post and had Joe Ward there. and all they needed to do is just get one flick on, and he was the wrong side of the defender. And if he's running back to his own goal, I mean, we've all been involved in football or been around it. You're going to probably just, as soon as they feel a bit of contact, the guy's going down. And he did trip him up accidentally. It was an accident. He didn't mean to do it, but it resulted in us losing 2 points. So I think he's strong enough and strong-minded enough to put it behind him. They've got a good group and a good mentality at the moment, and luckily we've got only a 3 or 4 day turnaround to put it right back at home, which is, I think, good.
Absolutely, yeah. Lincoln is a really, really good time to get ourselves, I'll say, back on track. Oh no, we've only won 5 and 6, and we're unbeaten.
It's weird because I think we're the only team playing on Thursday, aren't we?
We are,
the only game.
For some unknown reason.
Weird reason, yeah.
It's very strange. But Chris, I mean, I wanted to come to you about the actual free kick itself. Now, it was a blatant handball by Collins. He did really well to actually press the guy and close him down. It was just unfortunate to strike his arm. But the way we dealt with it, again, use the word naive. They took it short, paid it to the keeper. Not one Derby player came and closed him down, and he had all the time in the world. You know, if anyone's going to put a good ball over the back of the defence, it's a goalkeeper that takes about 100 goal kicks a week. You know, he's certainly practiced at that and can get it in the right place. Again, was it a little bit of naivety from Derby to not come out and not press the keeper and instead try and sit in and bed in and try and grind out the last minute?
Yeah, I think so. It was again just taking a few seconds to breathe and actually think about it. You know, Wickham were trying to generate a bit of panic in injury time, which is fair enough. It was exactly what we'd do. It was just a case of not using their heads quickly enough. There wasn't that one person out there just to say, "Whoa, let's calm it down. Let's actually think about what we're doing here." It was just an automatic. Let's get everyone back. And you know, no matter who our manager is, no matter who plays for Derby County, historically we are not good at defending leads. So I think it just needed to think outside the box, literally think outside the box, and actually get the source closed down rather than trying to defend the outcome, which we're not very good at. So that's it. I think naivety is the word. It just, and you know, we've already touched on it. We needed a few more experienced heads to actually use their heads rather than just go into panic mode.
Yeah, there's one moment that really stood out to me. We had a minute left, and we talk about naivety, but it was one of the most senior players. And James Collins, who I thought had a really, really good second half, actually, was carrying the ball down the left, and he had space in front of him, and he could have headed to the corner, and he didn't. He tried to cut inside and tried to score, and then John Jules tried to recover it and didn't quite recover it. Now, you want your experienced players to make the decisions of experienced players. And I think it was a bit of a selfish decision from Collins to try and go for a goal rather than try and hold the ball in the corner, see out the game. And Vic, is it a little bit of a frustration for you? Because I know it definitely is for me, that you've got a senior player in that position and he's made completely the wrong decision and it's ended up coming back to bite us.
Yeah, you'd expect it being 1-0 up with probably like a minute or a minute and a half to go to just sort of run down the clock, put it in the corner, win a throw and win a corner, anything like that, just to make sure that ball stays in the opposition's half. So it was frustrating to see from Collins. However, I see the flip side of it as well. As a striker, his first instinct is to try and build on that goal tally that he's already got. So he's probably heard about yours and Jamie's bet as well. So he's probably thinking, I need to help Jamie.
So it's Jamie's fault, basically. It's Jamie's fault.
We'll blame Jamie. Yeah. But yeah, it's frustrating. However, like I said, there could have been worse scenarios. We've still managed to get a point out of it. So if we just look at the positive side of it, that'd be good. But if we can maybe start running down the clock and doing the dark arts a bit more, I think that's one thing we don't do as a side, is to play the dark arts more. I mean, if we were looking to close games out, especially later on in the season when we're fighting for the points for the top 6 and top 2, we need to start developing a bit of an uglier side to us, doing the dirty things, trying to waste time.
We did get 5 bookings in the first half, Vic.
Yeah, but I mean that's just like I said, we didn't dispute it, but because they were all correct decisions. But on another day, maybe a referee probably wouldn't have given 5 yellow cards for all that. Might have let the game flow a bit more. But I think we can
We're-
develop a
We're
bit more
too
of a
nice,
dark eye
Vic.
side.
We're too nice.
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
God.
In hindsight, we actually are too nice. Bring out that
Oh.
Chris line from last season.
I feel another rant coming on. I can feel it.
Oh God, we've got a comment from David Clarkson, which I wanted to put to you guys because I think it's quite interesting, and it's aimed at us, which is always even more interesting. He's put the panel wanted worn out a few weeks ago. Now we're world beaters. Sorry to break the news. We're not a good team. Now, I'll put my feelings first forward on that. I'd say I think we all wanted Warren to succeed. I don't think I'm alone in that. I was desperate for Warren to succeed. And I'm pretty sure I said that multiple times in the episode. But the football wasn't great, and we didn't look like we were ever going to be dangerous at the top of the league. Now, we've won 5 games in a row. We've beaten some decent teams in that run as well. We're unlucky not to get 6 in a row. 98th minute equaliser. They don't happen too often. I don't think we're world beaters. I think we're a really average team, but I think it's just a really weak league. And therefore, we're doing well to get up the league, even if we're not a great team. I mean, Cal, what's your thoughts?
I mean, when you look at the way we were playing at the time, if you're playing that sort of football that isn't attractive and isn't getting results, which it wasn't, you're going to have those feelings. As a fan base, it's just comes nature of the beast with football. But as with everything, if he can turn it around, which he has, he's got us getting positive results. We look like we're more attacking minded. We look like we're more dangerous on breaks, etc., and it's quicker. And because of that, it means that, and with positive results, it means that obviously the mindset changes. That is what it is. It's just what football is like, and I think as a team, massively want to get them on and the team and behind them. It's just where it was at the time.
I'm almost scared to come to you, Chris. I'm scared about what you're going to say. There's fear in my eyes. Go on. What are you thinking?
Well, what I would say to that comment is I would love to see. Well, I will act. I'm that sort of person. I'll go back to that day when we had that episode and we all wanted worn out. The amount of people on Twitter who also wanted worn out, and unlike a lot of people, we've held our hands up and said we were wrong. It's as simple as that. The football at the time was awful. We weren't getting results, and saying that the panel wanted worn out. I think 99.9% of Derby fans after that Shrewsbury game were in the same boat. So just because we're obviously a bit more public in terms of what we do with the podcast, stop beating us with the same stick. And there's only one person, to thank for that turnaround in form, and it is Vic Singh, because he spoke to and the Derby players afterwards. He spoke to them, and suddenly we go on a winning streak. So Vic, you are solely responsible. Well done. And yeah, leave us alone.
Vic, you have my blessing, mate.
And yeah, I just want to say, like, I completely understand where you're coming from, David. Like, a lot of people have, there's people that jump side to side. Maybe we do it sometimes as well. Everyone does it. You react to new information. That's the way it is. But at the same time, I think the feeling was so low. Like, I can't remember feeling that low for a while.
It's the lowest
we've
ever been as Derby fans, isn't it? In my 30 years, it's the lowest I've ever been, and we suffered the 11 points. We suffered being relegated, and even then, I didn't feel as bad as the start of this season and those results. It's simple as that. You go on emotion. Football's all about emotion, and we all felt exactly the same way. And unfortunately, who becomes the scapegoat? It is the manager.
It is.
Sorry, rant over.
I could say you're right, Chris. You got some blood pressure tablets, mate. Okay.
There we go.
You're right, pal. Yeah, no, I get it. What about you, Vic? What are your thoughts? Because you're always quite reasoned. I remember during the episode, like, I know we said at the time worn out, which was the general consensus among everyone, especially those that were at that Shrewsbury game. We all said we wanted him to succeed. You were on the fence, maybe more than most, maybe out of fear of being killed on social media if it did turn around.
Exactly.
What are your thoughts, mate?
I think we have to remember football is very football and football fans are very fickle. I think we're quite reactive to a lot of things that goes on. If we've lost 4 or 5 in a row, we're going to be like, oh, let's get the manager out, because that's the first thing everybody points their fingers to is the manager. I was sitting on the fence because I thought maybe we could turn the corner. If we can turn the corner, we know historically Paul Warne teams sort of push on in the mid part of the season. Would history repeat itself? Luckily for us, it sort of has. Like the comments said, we're no world beaters. We know that we're probably a very bang average side. But like you said, Jake, it's a weak league. And it's probably given us the opportunity to really put ourselves in that top 6 and even push on to top 2. We win on Thursday. Everyone's going to be jumping up and down because we're a point off second.
Yep.
And we've been putting the pressure on Peterborough and Oxford. So again, football's quite a fickle sport. There's no need to always be reactive. I think people got to remember that you're only going to react to the run of results. We were on a bad run of form. Everybody that was at the Shrewsbury game, it was fans kicking off with players. It was fans kicking off with each other. That's how toxic it was. So it is what it is. I spoke to Paul Warne after that. I'm very proud to say it. And the players. And I just said to him, I said, look, I said, I know you're trying. I said, when it'll click, it'll click. It's clicked, doesn't it? 5 wins in 6. So
I can't believe you're taking credit for that.
Thank you, Vic.
why not? Why not?
Absolutely.
I respect it. I respect
Jake,
it.
Sorry, Jake. Can I just make one final point on that, and then rant over? I promise.
I'm scared.
It isn't so much around.
Please don't
Even
get
on
cancelled.
that 5-game winning streak, I still don't have the same excitement about watching Derby County. I just don't. And it's nothing to do with the league we're in. It's the style of football we're playing. And that is down to Warne. I've just seen a comment there saying that he's still on borrowed time. I think he is. I think a couple more results like Wickham yesterday, you're going to get the same people saying, oh, he has to go. So I think his style of football at a club like ours, where we expect a certain level of football, is very risky, and it has to be fantastic. We have to be winning, or you're going to get people saying the manager needs to go, and it's that simple. I'm still not as excited about watching Derby County as I have been. And I think that is down to the style of football we are playing. It's as simple as that. Ran over. Goodbye now. Sorry.
Just to add to that, I've said it a few times on the pod. If we're rubbish for 89 minutes and we go and get a winner and we win 1-0, but play absolutely rubbish football, and it gets us promoted. Exactly. If it gets us promoted, if it gets us the 3 points and we go up as top 2 or top 6, I am not bothered about the style of play. As long as we get out of this league, that's all that matters. We can worry about the championship when we get there. Let's just get out of this league first.
But I don't want to turn into Rotherham. We have to be ready for championship football. At the moment, I am petrified. If we go up via playoffs or top 2, I am petrified.
I will not be petrified. I'll be quite pleased, actually, Chris.
Of course we will. We'll all be It'll be the best day of our lives. But I think the reality of the team we've got playing championship football next season, if we get there, scares the hell out of me.
Well, let's get there first. I mean, it's been really interesting. I've got the comments that will ping up next to me as we're doing this live, and there's been a really interesting discussion. There's people agreeing with Chris. There's people disagreeing with Chris. There's people saying he's on borrowed time. People saying they're still worn out, and people saying they're worn in. So even though we've won 5
I'm
games
on borrowed time.
no, not you, Chris. It's not a death threat, Chris. You'll be fine, mate. I didn't even make that connection. Sorry, pal. But yeah, Chris, you're not on borrowed time. But yeah, some think he still is, and we've won 6 in a row. And there was a really good stat that I'm going to double steal that Dom had stolen from someone else on Radio Derby on Friday. He was saying this is Paul Warne's best ever start to a season. He's won 3 promotions from this league. This is the best points total he's ever had after this many games. Now, the football's not been great to watch, but I felt the excitement again before that Wickham game. I felt it. It was there. The buzz was there. I woke up in the morning. I was like, I was buzzing. I was ready. And it was the first time. And when we scored, I've not celebrated a goal like that all season. Yes, the end was a bit grim. But that moment when Barkhuizen put it in, You see the players. Did you see Tyrese Forder's celebrations?
Yeah.
He just running off, fist pumping in front of the crowd, and so it was brilliant. It was really good, and I think maybe the football isn't great, but the love is coming back a little bit. It is coming back a little bit, and I think if we can keep up this run of form, I mean, Jim Johnston's said he's going to put his head on the block and say we won't lose our next 6. I hope you're right, Jim.
Yeah,
not sure I share the same confidence
optimism.
as you, but yeah. We'll be in a good place. And right, we should probably look forward to the next few. So we'll just say now, this is probably our last live episode until after Christmas. I think we've got one in the pipeline to do between Christmas and New Year. So we'll have previews for every single game still coming out. Everyone's pre-recording those at the minute. The production line's working hard to make sure you've got something to listen to instead of having to listen to your families over Christmas, because who wants that? When you've got us instead. And we've got a Christmas special that'll be coming out on Thursday, I think, in the morning. So, yeah, we've got lots to listen to. But this will be our last one before the games against Lincoln, Wigan and Oxford. So we've got 3 games in that period. I mean, Wigan beat us at home. Very annoying. Lincoln, I think, are very beatable at home that we've got on Thursday, kiss of death. And then we've got Oxford, which is obviously probably the toughest game this season. Really, really difficult game. They're in tremendous form at the minute, right up near the top of the league. So, Cal, I'm not going to ask you for score predictions and goal scorers like a week and a half in the future, because that's mental. But I will ask you score predictions and how you think it'll go.
I'm going to go Lincoln Thursday night. I think a positive result would do the wonders. I think for morale, you look at the table, then we're right in there, and we play, as we said, on our own. No one else is playing. If we can put up a positive result, it just means everything going into the weekend is going to be very, very interesting. So I'm going to go a 2-0 win against Lincoln. And then is it Wigan or then Oxford? It's Wigan first. I will then go a 1-0 win against Wigan. I think we'll turn the tables on that one. And then I'll go 1-1 against Oxford. Although they're in the dive, I think that won't be.
Don't say that. Don't say that.
I'm just saying.
We said that about Wickham. We can't jinx it again. Not again. Ignore that. If anyone's listening, pretend Callum didn't say that. Didn't say. What about you, Chris? What are you thinking, pal?
So I think I'm with everyone. I think we should be beating Lincoln at home fairly comfortably. I'm going to go for a 2 or 3-0 win. I know. Kiss of death. But you asked for predictions. There you go. I'm going to go for Wigan away. I think it'll be a very scrappy game. I think we will get a point. And I'm also going to go for a point against Oxford.
Good choices, Vic.
I think against Lincoln, they're a decent footballing side, so I think they'll come out and play against us, which will probably fall into our hands. We'll win 2-0. We'll go to Wigan. I think we'll get a 1-1 draw. It's always a tough place to go on Boxing Day. I think we've been there on Boxing Day a few times now. So yeah, I'll go. Yeah,
Martin Waghorn.
Yeah, Martin Waghorn was the last one.
Yep.
Yes, I'll go 1-1 draw there. And I think at Oxford, genuinely, I think we'll get 3 points there. I think we'll get a 2-1 win over there. I think it'll be scrappy, but I think we'll get an early 2-goal lead and probably concede in the second half.
How come when I say we're going to beat Lincoln 2-0, everyone the head in the hand?
You said
when Rick says we'll beat Lincoln 2-0,
yeah, the word comfortable.
Callum's walking away.
Yeah. You can't say comfortable, Chris. You can't say comfortable.
Stay score and move on.
Jim Johnson.
I'm on borrowed time, I think there's something you guys aren't actually telling me.
Jim Johnston says we're going to beat Lincoln 2-1. We're going to win 1-0 against Wigan, and we're going to draw 2-2 with Oxford. And also says Merry Christmas. Merry Christmas to yourself as well, Jim. My guesses, I think it's going to be a really tight game against Lincoln. I think we'll win 3-0. I think we'll play Wigan away from home. I think it's Chris just looking at me. I think we'll play Wigan. I think it'll be another difficult game. They had our number last time, but let's hope we've developed enough as a team to take them this time. Not had the best of runs recently, have they, Wigan? So hopefully we can take advantage of that and get ourselves a good 1-0. I think a few of us have said 1-0 now. And Oxford's a tough one. I'm going to say a draw. I'm going to play it safe. I think it'll be a 1-1 draw. I think they're a good side. They are still a good side, even if they're not in the best of form at the minute. And I'd take a point right now, because that leaves us right up there and stops them building on their playoff push. So
you predicted us to win more than I did, and I'm still the one who's
it's
going
about
to
the
curse us.
language, Chris. It's about it's about the language.
No positive language on this podcast.
Yeah, you can't be too confident, Chris. You can't be too confident. We've seen what happens. We can't jinx anything this year. We've got to be careful. We've got to be careful. It's Jamie's fault that we lost against Sheff Wednesday, because he put Davis to score, I think.
Blame
And then he got sent off after about 4 minutes. So we can't jinx anything. We can't jinx anything. But right, thank you so much to everyone for listening. Thank you to everyone for your comments as well. It's been great. This is the last one before Christmas. There will be a Christmas episode, but that will be pre-recorded, because there's no way we're doing that one live that close to Christmas. But I just want to say a massive thank you to everyone who's listened all year. Really, really grateful. And everyone that's commented and got involved. All you contributors make a huge difference. And you're the reason we do this, because, we get to talk to you guys, and you guys let us know what you think as well. Like, David Clarkson's comment, maybe all of us didn't agree with it, but it gets us talking, and it gets us all talking to each other. So it's Chris, calm down. It's really nice. It's lovely, and we've loved it. We've loved doing these YouTube lives. We've loved doing all this sort of stuff since, over the course of the year. We said on the Christmas one, start of the year, we had like 100 people listening maximum, and now we get thousands every single episode, which is mental, considering we're all idiots and sit in our rooms on Zoom or BTEC Zoom every single day. So it's quality, and we're so glad to have you guys here. So for the last time before Christmas, goodbye from me.
Merry Christmas, everyone. Goodbye from me.
Merry Christmas. Goodbye from myself.
Merry Christmas, everyone. God bless, and goodbye from me.
Have a great Christmas, everyone. See you soon.